Hey Guffers, I'm James Reiner with Growing Up Fantasy Football, and today I am giving you my way too early top 5 rookie wide receiver rankings for the 2021 NFL Fantasy Football season. Last year was a little uncharacteristic. There was a lot of good rookie wide receivers, Justin Jefferson, Chase Claypool, to name a couple. We are seeing a league now where rookie wide receivers can come in and start playing right away and be successful. My job is to find those potential candidates for next season and give you guys an advantage heading into next year. This will be especially helpful for Dynasty when you have these rookie redraft leagues. Before we get started, remember to like and subscribe and follow us on Twitter for more NFL and fantasy football content. Now let's get into those rankings. All right, number 5, I have Rashod Bateman, wide receiver from Minnesota. He is 6'2", weighs about 210, projected 40 time, about 4.5, and he should go first round, in my opinion. Might go early in the second round. But he's the ideal height and size. He broke out in 2019 with 11 touchdowns. He just seems like your prototype wide receiver you could throw in and start putting your starting lineup day one. In Dynasty League, I think this could be a great later round pick because he's not that super flashy guy like Devonta Smith everyone's going to be looking at who could really pay off big in a couple years. Number 4, I have Kadarius Toney, wide receiver for Florida. He's 5'11", weighs about 190, projected 40 time is about 4.44. I could see it being even faster than that. Projected round should be, again, late first rounder, early second rounder in my opinion. He's just got the big playability. He's an explosive player and a speedy guy. Last year he had 984 yards, he had 10 touchdowns. He just seems like one of those guys who tend to have success in the NFL early for fantasy purposes because they make big plays, because they're explosive. They can come in and one play could be a touchdown. That's the kind of player he is. I think if he gets in the right system, he gets a similar quarterback like Trask with a big arm, he could be very good for fantasy next year. Number 3, Devonta Smith, wide receiver out of Alabama. 6'1", only weighs 175, projected 40 times, about 4.45, I think. And he's obviously going probably top 10 in the NFL draft. I mean, this is the Heisman winner. This is one of the most dominant seasons from a wide receiver that we've ever seen in college football. You know, he reminds me of players like Devonta Adams. The route running is just so great. They continually make plays. He's by far the best route runner in the draft. If Dynasty, he's probably my number 1 pick, but for redraft purposes, I kind of hold him back. What holds him back is his weight. He's a taller guy, 6'1". He only weighs 175. That kind of scares me. He could get hurt very easily, only weighing that much. So I hope he bulks up. I don't think that should impact his speed at all. I think that would be good to avoid injuries. He's also coming from a system that is designed to get him the football. He had an absurd amount of volume, absurd amount of targets. I don't know if he will get that his rookie year, and I'm assuming the team that drafts him is probably not going to be a very good team. Probably will not have a great quarterback. I'm sure they will struggle with the ball in his hands. He's not going to have the opportunity he did at Alabama. And play calling at Alabama was some of the best play calling in football in general. He probably will not get that whatever team he is drafted by. I think he's comparable to Jerry Jeudy from last year. You know, great player, great route runner, but team was so bad, he was not very valuable for fantasy. He wasn't terrible, but that's how I kind of value Devonta Smith for next year. Dynasty League, I think is different. I think he could be way valuable in future years to come. Number 2, Jamar Chase, wide receiver from LSU, 6'1", weighs 200, projected 40 time, 4.4. He looks faster than that to me, so it might even be faster. Projected round, obviously he's going to be a first round draft pick, probably in the top 10. He opted out of the 2020 season, but he had such a dominant 2019 season that his draft stock has not really been hurt at all. And in 2019, he had 1,780 yards, 20 touchdowns, absurd amount. He's still the top prospect in most people's minds. He's just well-balanced all the way around. He just has such a high ceiling, such a well-balanced wide receiver. I could see him putting up Justin Jefferson numbers this year, maybe even better. Who knows? He's clearly one of the best prospects in the draft. That makes him very attractive for fantasy. I'm think he can make an instant impact. Before we get into my number 1 pick, I'm going to give you guys some sleepers / honorable mentions. First off, I'm going to cheat here. I'm going to use Kyle Pitts. He's not technically a wide receiver. He is a tight end, but he might as well be a wide receiver. That's how Florida uses him. That's how I think he'll be used in the NFL. You know, he's a freak athlete. He's 6'6", 240. one of the most physically gifted players we've seen in a while. Easily a top 10 pick, but I think he will be a must-own for fantasy purposes. He will make an instant impact. I think teams will get him the ball. He's just too good of a player to not come in and automatically have an impact on the game. Next sleeper / honorable mention, I got Terrence Marshall Jr. from LSU. He got a chance to shine with Jamar Chase opting out of the 2020 season. He's 6'4", 200 pounds. I love big wide receivers. I think they bring a dynamic to the game they're hard to cover because they are so big. They can make so many different plays. I could definitely see him being successful if drafted by the right team. Next, Rondale Moore, wide receiver from Purdue. Smaller guy, 5'9", 180. I almost included him in my top 5, just barely missed. A lot of people are high on him, and for good reason. He's just such a solid, smart player that a lot of people will be interested in him. Last sleeper / honorable mention before my number 1 pick, Marquez Stevenson, wide receiver from Houston, 6 feet, 190. He's a great player for Houston, and he's just built as one of those prototype wide receivers. May creep up people's draft board as we get closer to the draft. Not a lot of buzz around right now, but may creep up that board. All right, number 1 pick for rookie wide receivers for the 2021 NFL fantasy season. I have Jaylen Waddle, wide receiver from Alabama. He's 5'10", weighs 182. He's been reported running a 4.37 40 time. I would not be surprised if he's even faster than that. He's a very explosive, fast player. He'll probably go in the later part, I would imagine, of the first round. Maybe mid-first round. Who knows? But for fantasy purposes, I think that is really good for a rookie wide receiver because he's not being drafted by a team that needs to rebuild, that probably doesn't have a good quarterback. He's getting drafted later by one of the better teams, which probably do have a pretty good quarterback. He's such a fast and explosive player. Before he got hurt, I actually thought he looked better than Devonta Smith at Alabama. He's just very Tyreek Hill-ish to me, a threat to make a big play at any time. And his route running is great too, and he can make contested catches. I think he's just an all-around well-balanced player, and a lot of people just want to write him off as kind of just a speed guy. I think he's more than that. I think he's a much more talented player than just he's fast. Even in the national championship, he was playing hurt and he was still beating people. That's incredible. I think he will be picked by a well-coached team that will use his skill set well. It'll be interesting to see what his 40 time ends up being. I think 4.37 sounds good. I think he might even be able to run a little faster than that. We will see. These rankings could completely change based off of which players get drafted by which teams and, combine results. Right now, though, these are the top 5 I think will make an instant impact for fantasy for the 2021 season. Let me know down in the comments section if you agree or disagree with my takes. Thanks for watching. Let me know who you think the top 5 rookie wide receivers are for 2021 fantasy football season. And as always, subscribe, grow up, and get guffed.